What's up everyone, welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today's video is a review of Nosferatu. Robert Eggers directs this remake of the classic 1922 horror film, which was an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. The movie follows Thomas Hutter, played by Nicholas Hoult, an estate agent who is sent to Transylvania to finalize a deal with the mysterious Count Orlok, played by Bill Skarsgard. Orlok, who is a vampire and who also has a strange connection with Thomas's wife Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, makes his way to their small German village, bringing plague and other terrors along with him. Before I jump into the review, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I post here on the channel. Now, if you've seen the original Nosferatu or read Bram Stoker's Dracula, you're very familiar with the story here in this movie. But Eggers does a really great job of adding his own style and flair, offering a fresh take to the retelling of a vampire story. It leans heavily into the gothic horror themes to create a sense of dread and terror throughout the movie. And this movie loves to play with shadows, sometimes using it to obscure the faces of characters in certain scenes, or using it as a way to represent Count Orlok's slowly spreading terror over the village. Nosferatu is also visually stunning, and it has some of the best cinematography I've seen in any movie this year. And that's no surprise if you're familiar with Robert Eggers' other films like The Northman or even The Lighthouse, because he brings back longtime cinematographer Jaron Blaschke for this movie. And so it's really just beautiful to look at. You have some shots that look like paintings, especially those in the village or even in Orlok's castle. And then there are some scenes that use this monochromatic color scheme that make them seem like they were shot in black and white, even though they were shot in color. Nosferatu is a classic tale, and one of the central themes of this story is one about human desire and obsession. And Eggers does a really good job of exploring that a lot more in this movie than other previous adaptations or retellings of this story. So he adds more layers to the connection between Ellen and Count Orlok, showing how and why these two are drawn to each other. A great example of how this is done is throughout the movie, Ellen has these night terrors and she has these visions of Orlok and she can't really make sense of them, but each one is showing her being drawn closer and closer to this character, and it terrifies her but also intrigues her. This movie is set in 1838 Germany, and through the cinematography, the production design, the set design, and even the costuming, Eggers is really able to give this movie a very European feel, a very European look. And I think you're transported into this time period through all these different elements. And he does a really great job of putting you in the middle of this dark, gloomy atmosphere. This movie also has a very melodramatic tone running through it, and that's often captured through the use of sound, which is often exaggerated and over amplified in many ways to create dread or terror throughout the scenes. And another great example of the melodramaticness of this movie is through the performances. Now, the cast here is great across the board, some really, really great performances. You have Nicholas Hoult, who is fantastic as this, terrified man who really has a lot of career ambitions and is really doing this, going to Count Orlok's castle, even though he's warned many times not to by the villagers, who goes there because he is seeking a better life for himself and his wife. We also have Willem Dafoe, who gives an absolutely unhinged performance as Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, who is often seen as the local crazy guy who is often right, even though people doubt him because he does deal with the occult. And then you have Bill Skarsgard, who is completely unrecognizable as Count Orlok and brings this large, monstrous presence to the role. But Lily Rose Depp is the standout here, and she gives a fantastic performance and is truly able to capture the turmoil of a woman who is haunted by her connection with a vampire. Now, this movie is a horror movie, and it's definitely a remake of a horror classic, one that kind of set the stage for many horror movies to come, and it's using a lot of those elements. Eggers does use a few jump scares throughout the movie to create that scare factor, but ultimately Nosferatu isn't really scary, at least not to me. But it does have a lot of creepy elements. I would mostly describe it as disturbing and unsettling at times, but definitely not scary. Now, I don't think Nosferatu is Eggers' best film, but I do think he's doing something unique and different here. And again, Nosferatu, the story, is not anything new. It's very familiar, but his take on it, his version of it, adds a new perspective to it. And he does a really great job of exploring the elements in this story in a different way. And I think that allows this story to feel fresh and new. And I think that in of itself makes it worth watching. So those are my thoughts on Nosferatu, which is currently in theaters. Are you planning on seeing it? Let me know in the comments. And while you're here, like and subscribe and stick around for more videos like this.